I never imagined I would be the target of bullying, unaware I'm the CEO's daughter. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was like the world was crumbling around me, piece by piece. One minute, I was just a girl in a crowded high school, blending in with the faded walls and gossiping cliques. The next, I was thrust into a nightmare I could never have imagined. The tension in the air was thick, electric. My hands trembled as I approached the cafeteria, the familiar noises of laughter and food trays clattering suddenly feeling like a warning siren. I inhaled sharply, trying to summon the courage I'd never needed before. But as I stepped inside, whispers ignited around me, sharp and piercing. "Isn't she the one?" A voice hissed, demanding attention, twisting reality like a knife. It was all because of a secret I didn't even know I had. My father's towering legacy loomed over me, unseen until now. The whispers turned into pointed stares, lips curling with disdain. I felt heat creep up my cheeks, my heart pounding in my chest like a frantic drum. What had I done to deserve this? Friends? I thought I had friends. But loyalty evaporated like mist on a sunny morning. Every face I turned to looked down, or worse, sneered dismissively. I had never felt so alone, surrounded by a sea of people. Desperation clawed at my throat as I clutched my lunch tray, the weight of it pressing down like a lead anchor. Then, tragedy struck. I noticed a group huddled at a far table, laughter spilling out like poison. A flicker of recognition crossed my mind, and my gut twisted. They were the popular kids, the untouchables. And there I stood an easy target, unaware of the weapon of my lineage now making me prey. They erupted into laughter, pointing right at me. My stomach dropped. "You think you're better than us, huh?" One girl spat, her tone laced with venom. I wanted to run, to hide from the spotlight. My breath hitched, the room spinning with every lingering gaze. The walls felt like they were closing in, suffocating me. For a moment, I questioned everything, who I was, what I was, and if it was all worth facing the judgment rolling off their tongues like bile. Around me, whispers turned into a murmur, the crowd mirroring my shock, their expressions a mix of curiosity and condemnation. It was as if they were all actors in a twisted play, and I, the main event. The laughter echoed in me, mingling with a rising tide of tears. Why? Why now? Suddenly, I caught a glimpse of someone watching from across the room. A boy with piercing blue eyes, observing silently. It was like he understood my turmoil, my struggle. But there was something about him that felt off, a mystery lurking in those depths. The crowd began to rise, their cheers sounding like wild beasts ready to pounce. My heartbeat raced, the world around me turning blurry. What would happen next? Would I be able to face this storm? Or would I crumble under the weight of my father's name? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I stood frozen in the glare of judgment, my heart racing with a mix of fear and confusion, an unexpected sound cut through the Dina voice, soft yet clear, slicing through the layers of cruelty surrounding me. "Leave her alone," the boy said, his blue eyes locked onto mine, a fierce glimmer sparking with defiance. The sudden shift in atmosphere was palpable, as if the very air had shifted from suffocating to a breath of fresh wind. I could hardly register what had occurred, lost in the tumult that was quickly unraveling. The group turned on him, surprised at his interruption, their laughter faltering momentarily. "And who are you to defend her? Do you think you're some kind of hero?" One of the girls sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. But he stood firm, a small smile playing at the corners of his lips. I'm just someone who knows what it feels like to be targeted. Trust me, this is not what makes you strong." His calm demeanor in the face of such animosity struck a confused chord within me, igniting a flicker of hope that perhaps I wasn't as alone as I had thought. Before I could process his words, the moment shattered as the bell rang out, signaling the end of lunch. The clattering of chairs drowned out the chaos and, almost as swiftly as it began, the confrontation faded as students resumed their jostling toward the exit. The boy, however, remained. He approached me slowly, an uncertainty that mirrored my own etched across his features. "Are you okay?" he asked genuinely, stepping into my personal space, lowering his voice just enough to make it feel like we were in a world apart from the taunts lingering like shadows around us. Something about him felt safe, or at the very least, familiar. I guess," I managed, unsure of how to express the storm swirling inside, or even if I was ready to talk about it. The grief of betrayal and the confusion of my surroundings held me captive. "I am Jake," he offered, a small, reassuring smile breaking through the tension in my chest. "And I'm sorry about, well, you know." The sincerity in his eyes made me want to believe that there were still others out there who understood. "Claire," I replied, the name sounding foreign on my tongue. We stood there, an outcast and an unlikely ally, as the crowd thinned around us, leaving a void that felt intimate despite the pain looming large. Our shared moment was cut short as I overheard snippets of conversation from distant tables, the whispers only now erupting into laughter again. "I heard she's practically a princess, her dad's like some big-time CEO or something," a girl said. "Just wait until he finds out how she's being treated." My cheeks burned. I wanted to sink into the ground beneath me, the weight of my father's name feeling heavier than ever. Suddenly, it felt like being painted into a stark outline, a target distinctly marked in everyone's minds. "Don't worry about them," Jake said, his voice steady. "They love gossip, but they'll move on. Just remember, they don't define you." I offered a hesitant smile, drawn to his unwavering conviction. Just then, the lunch bell rang again, this time signaling the start of the next period, a reminder that I needed to move deeper into the labyrinth of my days, a maze far more complicated than I had faced before. "Thanks," I whispered, unsure of how to articulate this newfound glimmer of connection. I was still trembling from the turmoil of the day, but within me, small embers of defiance sparked by his solidarity gave me the courage to face the storm ahead. "I'll see you around, Claire," Jake said with a small nod before he turned, weaving through the departing students. I watched him go, my heart low yet strangely buoyed by the encounter. I took a deep breath and steeled myself for the rest of the day, but as I headed to my next class, a sudden rush of panic gripped me. At that moment, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. Heart racing, I whipped it out to find a message that sent a chill through my bones. A picture of me, mid-cry, captured unknowingly as I had tried to escape the cafeteria earlier, accompanied by a message that simply read, "We know the truth. This is only the beginning." My hands trembled as fear wrapped around my throat, my heart hammering against the confines of my chest. I was being hunted in a way I couldn't understand. What did they want from me? And who else was involved in this cruel circus? As fresh tears stung my eyes, I realized that the nightmare wasn't just about my father's legacy, it was only just beginning. The hallways of Lincoln High had become a maze I was now navigating blindly, the walls closing in as whispers transformed into a relentless chant inside my head. I could hardly grasp the gravity of the message on my phone, a malicious harbinger shattering the fragile shield of safety I had hoped to weave around myself. I forced myself to focus, scanning the faces of the students who passed, each too absorbed in their own lives to notice the storm brewing within me. I stumbled into my classroom, my heart racing. The teacher's voice murmured in the background, an indistinct hum as I settled into my seat. All I could think about was the humiliation waiting to unfurl. The fear of being publicly dissected at lunchtime had transformed into dread that clung to me like an unshakable fog, growing thicker as I replayed that photo over and over in my mind. "Claire." The teacher's voice broke through my reverie. I looked up. Mrs. Thompson's eyes were filled with concern as she stared at me, the weight of my grief visible in the corners of her compassionate gaze. "Are you feeling all right?" The question bubbled to the surface, one I wasn't prepared to answer. I managed a quick nod, grateful for her kindness yet yearning for the power to break free from this oppressive weight. The rest of the class droned on, a distant echo, while I felt isolated in a cocoon of anxiety. Just as the final bell rang, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Jake leaned against the frame, holding his backpack casually with a shining smile that radiated warmth. Despite myself, I felt a small spark ignite, something I desperately clung to in the